Señores oyentes de USALA Media, estamos aquí con un programa que se titula The Compass. Es un nuevo programa, estamos tratando de cambiar los temas, de cambiar la discusión, la presentación de este programa. Yo soy Fernando Mendez y este programa lo dirige Dani Ramos, aquí en USALA Media Network. Bueno, hay varios temas, especialmente con el aniversario, el segundo aniversario del 6 de enero. So, this is January 6th, the second anniversary of January 6th insurrection. Coincidentally, ironically, in Congress right now, they are debating who is going to be the Speaker of the House. As of this moment, there was no Speaker. They have been unable, the Republicans, who will control the House for the next 2 years, have been unable to select a leader, have been unable to give Kevin McCarthy the 218 votes that he needs to be the Speaker of the House. So this is the first time that, according to some of the reports that I heard, that this kind of multiple votes to select the Speaker, the number is at 11 right now, that the number of votes to select the Speaker was this high back in the 19th century, 1820s, I believe. So he is making history, Kevin McCarthy, and one of the ways in which he is making history is by sort of discrediting himself. So I want to address that topic because being the second anniversary, obviously, that is an issue that I would like to address. Kevin McCarthy almost single-handedly rescued Donald Trump from oblivion. We might recall that in the days after January 6th, when the fact that insurrection failed and that everybody was looking at Donald Trump as the cause of the insurrection, of the attack on the Capitol, that everybody was looking at that as motivated by the words and the person and the urgent call from Donald Trump. We might recall the speech right before or almost at the same time as the Oath Keepers were invading the Capitol grounds. So at that point, Donald Trump, according to the January 6th reports, that's another thing that we can talk about in this topic. According to the January 6th reports, Donald Trump was enjoying the view of the insurrection, the view of the Oath Keepers and the hundreds, thousands of people perhaps that attacked the Capitol and destroyed property, breaking windows, knocking down doors, and causing the death of several people. One of them was shot by the Capitol Police. But to this day, the officers who defended the Capitol are respected as heroes who were able to defend and protect the congressmen who were at that point ready to verify the election of Joe Biden as president. The whole idea at that point, we might recall, was for the insurrectionists to stop the legal count, to stop Mike Pence from verifying, from certifying the election by counting the votes officially. And we know all they achieved was to postpone it and to shame themselves, to shame the former president. He, as we know, he fled to Mar-a-Lago. That was his escape. In the meantime, many of the people he led into that unhappy attack on the Capitol, into that failed attempt to destroy our democracy, many of those people were in jail. Many of them are still being investigated. Hundreds of them were investigated by the FBI. Many of them, as we know, have ended up in serving terms in prison. One of them, Alan Jones, he called it InfoWars. He called his program InfoWars. Rather, it should have been misinfo, because all he did was provide misinformation, and with great alacrity claimed that the election was stolen from Trump. And he continued to do that. He also attacked the children that have been killed, and the parents sued him. The children have been killed in a primary school in New England, and the parents sued this guy, and he continued, nevertheless, to vociferously proclaim that that was fake, that they hired people, actors, and so on, causing anguish to these parents who had already suffered a loss. So that's one of the characters, and one of the disgusting personalities that have emerged from the January 6th insurrection attack on the Capitol. There are names all over the place that are responsible for this. At the top of the list, obviously, Donald Trump, but the people who helped him, Meadows, his sympathizers in Congress, many of whom, even that very night when the election was certified, voted against it. More than 100, I believe 130, perhaps more, voted against that. And what is even more disgusting is that these people are still in Congress. Many of them are sitting there today, and 20 of them have decided they do not want Kevin McCarthy to be the Speaker of the House. So that that is happening right now as we speak. And Kevin McCarthy sits there, taking it all in, sometimes looking preoccupied with his head in his hands, sometimes smiling cautiously. He has no reason to smile. There is nothing to celebrate here. He is one of the people responsible for the resurrection of Donald Trump. He's one of the people responsible for the attack on the Capitol. He's one of the people responsible for the fact that this is happening right now to him. He created this monster, the 20 people who are now voting against him are not listening to anybody. They're not even listening to President Trump. They have decided that McCarthy is not going to be the leader of the House, that he's not going to be the Speaker of the House. And after taking 11 votes, nothing has happened. I mean, he doesn't have enough. And on the other hand, the Democrats seem united, giving Hakeem Jeffries, their leader, 212 votes, 6 short of what would give him the position of Speaker. So the Democrats have remained united, and that makes it clear this is what is happening right now in the Capitol with this nominating process. Makes it clear that the Republicans are deeply divided, that the 20 people, this is like the tail wagging the dog, the 20 people is 10% of the Republicans, that these people are holding up the process of nomination. So they are determined not to elect Kevin McCarthy to Speaker of the House. Contrast that with the departing Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who really knew how to count votes. Apparently, Kevin McCarthy has no idea how to count votes. If he knew way back when he began the process, when this whole thing of the nomination to Speaker of the House began, that he must have miscalculated. He didn't know what to do. Nancy Pelosi would never bring to the floor an issue that she knew wouldn't pass. And here we are with this. He's not a novice. I mean, he's been in politics for a long time. That he miscalculated completely. Maybe he thought that Donald Trump would be able to convince the 20 or so people who are opposing him, many of whom support Donald Trump. I think most of them do, actually, except for two of them are still supporting Trump and supporting his supposed try at becoming president again in 2024. And just as an aside, I don't believe that is going to happen. There are a couple of scenarios that have been mentioned regarding 2024. And one of them is that Donald Trump will look at the landscape, at the political landscape, and perhaps, unlike McCarthy, he will realize that he doesn't have the votes and not even attempt to continue running, since he has already declared that he's running. But he will not make any more attempts to continue that race if he knows that he's not going to make it. But he would try to take advantage as much as possible, because he was all about himself. Donald Trump was all about graft, self-aggrandizement. He wanted to be the hero to his followers, that 30%, 33% who followed him and who will follow him. But even that, as evident by now by the 20 people in Congress who are not listening to Trump. He already voiced his support for Kevin McCarthy once again. But they are not listening to that. The votes continue to be 200 from McCarthy and these 20 people against him, and then 2 or 3 votes, 1 absent, and 2 votes for another candidate. So what it is, what we are contemplating right now is a political mess in the White House, in Congress. The White House, in the meantime, has reacted with glee, not officially, they're not laughing, but they believe that this chaos in Congress will not benefit the Republicans, that this as a prelude to 2024 will serve the Democrats to come back and take control of Congress in 2024. So we're going to take a brief pause here in The Compass. No se vayan, regresamos en un momento. Pagano's Market and Bar has been serving gourmet Italian foods in Center City for 3 generations. Call Matthew Pagano for all your catering needs, and during these difficult times, please mention Fernando Mendez and receive a nice discount along with free delivery. Pagano's also makes the finest gift boxes in the city for all your holiday needs. Visit paganosmarketandbar.com. Amigos oyentes de USALA Media Network, presenting The Compass. And estamos de regreso aquí, les habla Fernando Mendez. Este programa lo dirige Dani Ramos. Estamos tratando el tema del segundo aniversario del ataque al Capitolio, the attack of January 6th. There was a report just submitted by Congress. It's thousands of pages, and we know parts of what the report says. In brief, what I think, from what I understand, and because I listened to many of the hearings live, it was a spectacular show for anybody interested in politics, interested in the process, anybody interested in learning and understanding what happened to us on January 6th of 21, that insurrection marked a departure from what many believed. We took for granted that this democracy was strong. And I think one of the founders, as I recall, maybe it was Benjamin Franklin, one of the early leaders of this country was asked about, do we have a constitution? Do we have a country? And he said, we have a republic if we can keep it. And so that's why we lose sight of, that democracy cannot be taken for granted, that it needs to be protected, that we need to be reminded that there will be attempts to destroy it. This is an experiment that has been successful. This country is still an example to most of the world about how to govern. So January 6th was a sort of a wake-up call, making us realize that this agreement that we live under the Constitution, that this bipartisanship that we took for granted for so many years, this collaboration among people from different parties and different views, but with one objective, to serve the nation, to protect democracy, to protect the Constitution, that agreement is fragile, and that it takes one party, one wayward leader to destroy it, to break the balance of power. So that's why we woke up on January 6th, and this is the second anniversary. And look what is happening in Congress, and as an example of how a democracy works, because it is messy, as we can see right now. But in the end, it should produce a leader. In the end, it should give us a Speaker of the House, regardless of how many times they are forced to vote, regardless of how we arrive at that final vote and who gets the job. Obviously, Kevin McCarthy had the numbers. He thought he had the numbers, but we don't know at this point. It seems that Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has the votes at this point, 212. If he could only get 6 Republicans to follow him, that is not going to happen. Obviously, the Republicans don't want to give up power now that they have it. But they have it for 2 years. So let's see what they do with that. I mean, this is not a great beginning for them. This is not how you start if you want to present an image of competency, if you want to present an image of leadership, that you want to accomplish something. But that is the absurd position of the Republican Party. Remember that Donald Trump ran without a platform, and that Jim McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, that Jim McConnell said, when he was asked about a platform, what are you going to do when you win? Because at that point, we were supposed to lose the Senate also. The Democratic Party didn't look strong. Obviously, the House was lost in the end, not by a wide margin. As we know, it's only a difference of less than 10 votes. But the Senate, by a small margin, now is under the control of the Democrats. So, but Jim McConnell, when he was, Mitch McConnell, when he was asked, what do you plan to do when you take power? He said, I will tell you after the vote, after we win. So, because he was, in his arrogant way, sending the message that he was going to win. He was taking it for granted. Well, big surprise. What changed the vote? Now, let's remember what changed the vote. There were a couple of big factors. One, young people came to vote in droves, a lot of young people. A lot of immigrants upset at the way the Republicans approach the issue of immigration. And one very key vote, women who were upset at the decision of the Supreme Court to put away Roe versus Wade and therefore weaken women's rights. So those factors plus a few others, the economy was supposed to give the vote to the Republicans. The economy was not weak enough to give them that power. And the other issues, the pocketbook issues, which is what people are usually concerned about, and that's what Biden has been unable to gain the faith of the people, to make people believe that he can control the economy, that he can control the inflation and give us an opportunity to come back strong, to recover from the recent losses caused by COVID. Yeah, let's not forget COVID, because COVID is what changed so many things in this country. COVID destroyed our economy. It disrupted our economy, disrupted the political process. And again, once again, who is responsible for the fact that we did not approach COVID with seriousness? Who is responsible for that lack of leadership? Donald Trump. And I know that other people have tried to give him credit for the research that led to a very fast obtaining the vaccines necessary to fight COVID. But let's remember that there are tapes in which we can verify, because he gave several interviews, that there are tapes in which he says he does not want to tell Americans about the seriousness of COVID, because he was afraid that that would disrupt the election, that he would lose the vote if he gave us information about the potential threat, the deathly threat that COVID represented. So we're still living with COVID. We have, obviously we have better means of fighting this illness, but it's going to stay with us for a long time. We are probably going to have to get vaccines as we do for flu and other illnesses. So this is one thing that is not going to go away. as and just to bring this in full circle to an end, we will not forget January 6th. We will not forget the insurrection. We will not forget the attempt to destroy our democracy. And let's remember that when Donald Trump comes back on the trail, if he does, promising to run this country like he did before, that all the things that he did before put us in a condition in which we failed to attack COVID with all the weapons of our new technology, our medical knowledge, because he was incapable of leading us. That's one topic, probably for another day. We should talk about leadership. And we have come to the end of this program. We want to thank you for your attention. And since this is our first program in this format in the new year, we want to wish you and your families the best new year ever in 2023. May you be healthy and happy. Remember that health is very important. Health and money and power and all that stuff that is happening right now in Washington, those are the things that are important, but health above all. If you're not healthy, the rest of the stuff does not matter. So have a healthy new year. And thank you for your attention. Se despide Fernando Mendez en The Compass on USALA Radio Network.